Hey, remember, this is the Baddest Sports Show podcast production. Remember, the host of the Baddest Sports Show podcast is my son, EJ504. Remember, I am the co host of the Baddest Sports Show podcast, Everett 504. And remember to follow us on TikTok. We just got shout out to everybody who support us on TikTok. We just eclipsed 1,000 following on TikTok, and remember to follow us on Twitter. Also, subscribe here on YouTube. We're trying to get some ground here on YouTube. Make sure you hit the like button. Also, subscribe to the Baddest Sports Show podcast. We remember we need to support all Saints content, all Pelicans content. We all are the voice of the baddest of the New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans. Okay, so give me 1 second. I will be on. Welcome to the Baddest Sports Show podcast in the Deep South. It's your boy, the co-host of the Baddest Sports Show podcast. It is Everett 504. My son is the host of the Baddest Sports Show podcast, EJ 504. Today, I do the weekly report, okay? So most of the times you see me doing a weekly report. My son has been focusing on the New Orleans Pelicans around this season. He's been focusing a lot on the Pelicans. And I try to keep us up to date with the moves of the New Orleans Saints, okay? So if you haven't heard from my son, that's what he's been doing. He's been keeping us afloat with the New Orleans Pelicans. But right now, we're going to talk to New Orleans Saints and some of the moves, and we're going to talk about what's popping with Michael Thomas, the dark side of Michael Thomas. And let me tell you something. They're going to have a lot of emotional Saints fans who pretty much ain't going to like what I got to say. Okay? And I understand that. If you want to hit the like button or you want to hit the down button, if you don't like it, it helps the algorithm. If you want to hit the dislike button or you want to hit the like button, we would definitely appreciate. Remember, everybody's opinion matters. Even if you disagree with me, your opinion matters. Okay. Remember that the Saints, the New Orleans Saints content is for everybody who is a fan of the New Orleans Saints and the New Orleans Pelicans. That means we all of us should be getting support for the New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, okay? Not just our particular podcasters, okay? Remember that all of y'all are welcome here at the Baddest Sports Show podcast. All of y'all matter here, okay? But I'm here to talk about Michael Thomas. I just came off the Facebook group, and I said I would come to YouTube and I would be able to finish it off, okay? So like I said, shout out to all the brothers and sisters who support us on our Facebook group. Okay, so I just came from over there. Now I'm over here. Okay, I know you guys been hearing about Michael Thomas being released or set to be released from the New Orleans Saints. There is some truth to that, but there's no truth to that because Michael Thomas only had, remember this, Jeff Duncan stated that, and I think he should have been able to state that. He didn't state that correctly. Michael Thomas was not offered another contract, so he will not be released. He's a free agent. Okay, so he's not being cut by the New Orleans Saints. So if you're hearing people saying that he's being cut by the New Orleans Saints when he's just not going to be he's not going to be given another contract. The same with Jameis Winston. They're not going to be released. They're not going to be offered another contract. They remember that Jameis Winston and Michael Thomas had a 1-year contract. So to get a clear understanding, they are not being cut. They're not being cut. They're not being released. They're just not going to be re-signed again. Okay? So for those who saying Michael Thomas is being cut, that is not, and I think this was probably pissing Michael Thomas off with Jeff Duncan. Him and Jeff Duncan has a history of low blows, okay, in the past, okay? Michael Thomas but Michael Thomas, you don't call the man a hoe. Okay, come on, man. You don't call the man a hoe. Michael Thomas, you have too much class. Michael Thomas, you have too much pedigree. Don't let yourself fall to a disgruntled employee by going back and forth with a reporter, okay? Don't let your legacy be blown by going back with a reporter. Okay, the New Orleans Saints has valued Michael Thomas. Let's not act like the New Orleans Saints have done Michael Thomas wrong. Let's not act like the New Orleans Saints have done him terribly. No, he was paid well with the New Orleans Saints. He was the all-time leading receiver, so he got paid as the all-time leading receiver in New Orleans Saints history. He was there's not a wide receiver in New Orleans Saints history that has made more money than Michael Thomas. Okay? The last 4 to 5 seasons, he has had 95 receptions. Okay? I understand he was injured, but he has had only 95 receptions with the New Orleans Saints. I want you guys to seek that in. So that means the Saints have been paying him for less production. And I understand he has been injured. But the NFL means not for long. The NFL means not for long. Go look at what's going on over there with other organizations. Go check it out. What's happening in Denver? Go check it out. They let one of their best safeties go. Go look where multiple teams are just letting so many of the veterans go. That's just a part of the NFL. It means not for long. So it's not, the Saints letting Marcus May go. That they are releasing Marcus May. He's not going to be back a part of the New Orleans Saints. But getting back to Michael Thomas, as far as production go, he hasn't been that guy the last 4 to 5 years. He hasn't been that guy since 2018. He hasn't been that guy. That's just the absolutely truth. He hasn't been that guy due to injuries, and that's a part of the game. Injuries are part of the game. Okay, it's a business, Saints fan. Okay, it's a business. Football is a business, so we can't get tied up in emotions over a business. Okay, we will always consider Michael Thomas the greatest wide receiver in New Orleans Saints history. We will always consider that man for all the great things he have done. Okay? But let's be honest. How many of us are going back to the foundation on why Michael Thomas got hurt? Oh, let's go back to the guru, Sean Payton. And I don't think a lot of people want to talk about Sean Payton because Sean Payton gave the New Orleans Saints 1 Super Bowl. Oh yeah, we can't talk about Sean Payton because Sean gave us 1 Super Bowl. Because Sean gave us 1 Super Bowl, we can't criticize Sean Payton. Oh yeah, let's talk about Sean Payton. Sean Payton, in a meaningless game, was up on the Carolina Panthers. And this was a playoff game, we were up big. And Sean Payton was running the score up. And Sean Payton had Michael Thomas out there in a meaningless game that we were winning, trying to run the score up. And this is some of the criticisms I talk about Sean Payton. His ego, shout out to Jerry, one of the greatest Saints fans I know. One of the greatest Saints fans I know. Because I'm going to tell you why. Every time I see Jerry is in a Saints chat always. Never see. I look to consistency when I look at Saints fans, and there's a lot of Saints fans who are not consistent, and we live in emotions, and we have to get out of our emotional attached to players. I love me some Alvin Kamara. My sons bought me Alvin Kamara's jersey. I love me some Drew Brees. They will always be dear to my heart. They will always be the all-time GOATs, in my opinion. Okay? But I know at some point they got to go. I know at some point that they got to go. And Michael Thomas is not an exception to the rule. Michael Thomas is not an exception to the rule. We love us some can't guard Mike. We're going to always remember all the great things that Michael have done. But you got to understand that Michael Thomas for the last 4 to 5 years have been non-existent. And I understand he has been injured. Injury is a part of the game. And the NFL is about what have you done for me lately? Okay, what Michael Thomas have done for us lately, the last 5 years? What has he done for the last 5 years? 95 receptions. 95 receptions in the last 5 years. Last 4 years, 95 receptions. Okay? Ever since the big year, that big year, he got that big contract. Where has Michael Thomas been? Injured. And Saints fans don't like to hear that. They don't like to hear about their best players because they have an emotional attachment to certain players. Emotional attachments. And sometimes you got to let it go. I had an emotional attach to Joe Horn. I love me some Joe Horn, but I had to realize Joe Horn had to go. And it hurted me to see Joe Horn play for the Dirty Birds. It dreaded me. Oh man, when he went over to the Dirty Birds, it literally, man, I was like, man, I want to jump off the ship, man, when I saw number 87 playing for the Dirty Birds. That was like one of the worstest things as a Saints fan. Watching your player play for the rival. Nobody likes to see that. I mean, I couldn't even stand seeing Jameis Winston coming over from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and become a Saint. I had to suck that in because, man, let me tell you something. Never forgetting Jameis slapping Marshall Lattimore on the back of his helmet. And I just didn't forgive him because I just was so, I was so programmed to root against the guy. I started to like the guy. The guy had great personality. I began to start liking him. But when you've been rooting against these Dirty Birds and rooting against the Buccaneers and the Kitty Cats, you got to understand, okay? This ain't just, it's more than just a game. It is what it is. We get very emotional attached to players. And the NFL means not for long. That's the way the NFL stands for. It stands for not for long, Saints fans. And we got to be understanding that at some point, we're going to lose players that we love. It's going to be Alvin. It's going to be players. And it is what it is. And there are going to be some other players to like. Okay, Mike, now we can see, hey, jump on that Chris Olave, man. Okay? I think that kid is something to cheer about. Okay? Michael Thomas, well, like I said, he was the GOAT as far as our wide receiver. I will always love Michael Thomas. But Michael Thomas, you got to mature, brother. You got too much of a legacy to be going after Jeff Duncan. Jeff Duncan can't hold your shoes, my brother. And the way you're making yourself look, man, over a reporter who's been reporting with the New Orleans Saints for over 30 years. Now, whether we agree with Jeff Duncan, whether we disagree with Jeff Duncan, he has the skins on the wall. Okay? You're seeing how the Houston Chronicles reporter would have his back. A lot of people are standing up for Jeff Duncan. The same way players stand up for Michael Thomas. Okay, Jeff Duncan has his skins on the wall. I don't particularly like Jeff Duncan, but it don't look good when you go after the team that invested so much in you. It don't look good when you go after Mickey Loomis after Mickey Loomis trusted in you and gave you the highest paid wide receiver contract in NFL and in New Orleans Saints history at that time. It just don't look good. Okay? You don't see players like Drew Brees. You don't see players who left the Saints organization trash talk the organization. Some people are classy. Marcus Colston never made a Pro Bowl, but you never seen Marcus Colston ever trash the New Orleans Saints. And Mike, you're better than that. Michael Thomas, you are better than that. You don't tarnish your own legacy by going after the reporter. The reporter can't even hold your shoes, bro. Michael Thomas, it don't look good that you're going after the New Orleans Saints organization after they invested all of that money. And you only had 95 receptions over the last 4 years. You've been spending more time in rehab than being on the football field. Yeah, I said it. And I'm going to get a lot of dislike because the emotional Saints fans. Emotional Saints fans are more invested into the players. And they're going to have emotional stance on these players. The NFL means not for long. And I don't care. I'm going to say the things that other Saints fans don't want to hear because it's just a fact. The fact is we get too emotional in players. And at some point, we got to move on. We're going to always love Michael Thomas. We're going to always love Alvin Kamara. We're going to always love Drew Brees. We're going to always love. But let me tell you something. There's a time, okay? There's a time for all of them. There's a time. And I'm just telling you that it doesn't mean I'm shitting on Michael Thomas because I'm saying it's time for him to move on. It's just time for Mike to move on. They got players who are going to retire with their organization, and it's going to be players like Cam Jordan because Cam Jordan is just built that way. He put his skins on the wall. You're never going to see Cam Jordan talk bad about the organization. You're never going to see players like that. You see why Tyrann Mathieu and you know, a veteran like Tyrann Mathieu gets another contract? Because he doesn't talk bad about his organization. He just don't. He's a class act. And some things you exposing the organization doesn't mean it's not going to be good for you for the next organization that you get with. Don't listen to the fans. The fans are emotional. Fans are going to be out here telling you, man, yeah, tell it like it is. Expose them. What kind of fans that want their organization to be exposed to what? And let me tell you something. Yes, in some ways, Dennis Allen is the scapegoat. I talked about this on the Baddest Sports Show Facebook group. Dennis Allen has only coached 2 seasons with the New Orleans Saints. Yes, he's not the sexy pick. He's not the guy that I wanted. But let me tell you something. If the guy get a chance to be the head coach, he should at least, from the get-go, the man should have had his own offensive staff. Sean Payton knew what he was doing. Sean Payton left the organization to a guy he knew was not going to go. See, Sean Payton's ego. He didn't want a guy that was going to jump off the bat and be as good as him. Sean Payton gave us Dennis Allen. Sean Payton gave us Dennis Allen. Because Sean Payton knew that Dennis Allen was not going to step up. And you know, we talked about the interview process. We talked about Eric Bieniemy. We talked about the interview process. The guy that's over there in Jacksonville. We talked about multiple guys who interviewed for the job. But did you know that the Saints interviewed Eric Bieniemy not just for the head coaching job? They interviewed him for the offensive coordinator job. Did you know that? Oh, yeah. But Eric Bieniemy looked at it as a waste of time and a slap in his face. I don't blame him, but he went over and took the Washington Commanders job. Now, if I was Eric Bieniemy at the time, I think he made a mistake. He should have chose the Saints. See, when the Saints never was going to give the job to Eric Bieniemy or anybody else, they knew what they were doing. They were going to give it to Dennis Allen from the get-go. But Dennis Allen was never going to get an opportunity to coach in the NFL. No other jobs in the NFL. Nobody would have took Dennis Allen but the New Orleans Saints. I'm just being honest with you. At that time, nobody was going to take him. So he was groomed to be the job, to take the job because they look, let me tell you something. They had to talk Pete Carmichael into become an offensive coordinator because once Eric Bieniemy turned the New Orleans Saints down, then that opened up the gates to go back to Pete Carmichael. Imagine being the head coach and you can't even hire your own assistants. That's why Mickey told Dennis Allen, okay, I'm not going to let you go because it really, you bought into what I told you. So basically, you took the job because you had no choice. It was Mickey's fault. And Mickey took responsibilities. That's why he gave Dennis Allen another shot with his own offensive staff. That's why he allowed Dennis Allen to go out and pick his own offensive coordinator. That's why he allowed him to go to San Francisco and go to the Kubiaks. Because Dennis Allen has ties to the Kubiaks because of Gary, his father. A lot of people don't know that Gary Kubiak, back before Sean Payton got the job, Gary Kubiak was favored to get the job. He turned down the job to the Saints. People don't know that there were several guys, Mike Martz, there were several guys that turned the Saints job down, and Sean Payton was the fourth guy. He was the fourth guy. The fourth guy that they actually hit the lottery on the fourth guy because all of the guys turned the Saints down at that time. And Gary Kubiak, it was some numbers. Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis and Tom Benson did not want to overpay for Gary Kubiak. Okay? So that's the ties that they had. So going back, it didn't surprise me that Mickey went back to go and get a Kubiak as an offensive guy. Okay? Saints fans, we got to stop being so emotional. We got to look at this. You refuse to blame Sean Payton. I'm going to blame Sean Payton. Okay? Yeah, you saw Tyrann Matthews sign his 2-year deal. I'm going to get to that. But let me tell you, because, nobody wants to play for Dennis Allen. You remember that, Jerry? Nobody. The players don't want to play for Dennis Allen. Or I guess that just shoots all of that out of the way. Because now, Tyrann Matthews don't want to play for Dennis Allen. I guess that suits it up, right? But nobody wants to blame Sean Payton. But Sean Payton has never developed a quarterback. Never developed a quarterback. Oh yeah, he had Adrian McPherson. He had Griffith for Tulane. He had Chase Daniels, Garrett Grayson. He never developed a guy other than Chase Daniels. Chase Daniels is the only Saints quarterback that he actually developed. Okay? Out of all the quarterbacks, that's the only quarterback that he developed, and he was a long-time backup. Long-time backup. Okay? So, Sean Payton had an opportunity. Sean Payton had an opportunity to get Patrick Mahomes, but him and Mickey Loomis, they sat and allowed Kansas City to jump over them. And that's how Pat Mahomes is the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs. They waited too long to try to replace Drew Brees. They never considered, to me, in my opinion, instead of them trading up to go get, this is what really makes me upset with the Saints organization. They trade up to get Davenport, Marcus Davenport. You could have got Davenport in the second round. You could have traded back, got an extra pick in the second round, and they could have picked Lamar Jackson and still got Marcus Davenport. The Saints just dropped the ball when it came down to quarterback. And I blame that on Sean Payton. I blame it on him. And a lot of you guys don't want to even go down that road on how Sean Payton did not field a future under, we look at Aaron Rodgers. We look at how Aaron Rodgers did not want to train Jordan Love. But look how that looked. Jordan Love sat under Aaron Rodgers, just like Aaron Rodgers sat under under Brett Favre. Look how that turned out for the Green Bay Packers. We had an opportunity to get Jordan Love. We had an opportunity. We had multiple quarterbacks that we had an opportunity, but Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis, they go out and get Garrett Grayson. Garrett Grayson. They go out there and get Ian Book. This is the evaluating. They don't see. This is the Saints. This is, and we want to talk about Dennis Allen, because Dennis Allen only been here for 2 years. For 2 years. And Sean Payton ego, he's the same way he's messing up the Broncos' salary. He got you eating $85 million from Russell Wilson. Sean Payton is eating $85 million of dead cap. He left the Saints in dead cap. This is your Hall of Fame coach. And this is the things I talk about this stuff. I talk about these things. And it just really makes me sickened that Saints fans don't see this. But the scapegoat is Dennis Allen. Oh, Dennis Allen this, Dennis Allen that. When it started from the foundation of Mickey Loomis and Sean Payton. Oh, yeah, Sean. Dennis got his blame. Yeah, I blame Dennis Allen. I think Dennis Allen has a lot to do with it. But Sean, he's not the foundation of the problem. It's Dennis Allen who recommended Doug Marrone to be our offensive coordinator. We said, why the Saints went back and got Doug Marrone? Doug Marrone couldn't, come on, man, Doug Marrone as our offensive line coach. Pete Carmichael, they wanted to keep the culture. The Saints wanted to keep the culture. Keep the culture. Keep the culture. Without the head coach, without having Sean Payton, there's no culture. Once Sean Payton left, the Saints should have got rid of everybody that had to do with Sean Payton, because once Sean Payton was the culture. Sean Payton was the culture. You couldn't tell. You can't keep the culture as long as we should, and it makes me furious. That's when the Saints should have started from scratch. You get rid of everybody. But oh no, Mickey. You won one damn Super Bowl, Mickey. You got comfortable with one Super Bowl. And Sean Payton hasn't won a Super Bowl since 2009. And we got complacent. We forget about the 3 7-9 seasons. But we want to talk about Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen, first season with the Saints, 7-10, ain't nothing to sneeze on. His second year with the Saints is 9-8. But look at Sean Payton, first year, 10-6, outstanding. But his second season, 7-9. His third season, 7-9. His fourth season, 7-9. Then he goes, just think about this. If Dennis turned it around this year, he would have actually better 2 seasons than Sean Payton. Oh, I don't think you guys want to hear that. It sounds ridiculous, don't it? It sounds ridiculous. But in 2 years, in 3 years, if the Saints have a winning season this year, he would have a better 3 seasons than Sean Payton. I know that sounds ridiculous to hear. Now, let's read what Jerry had to say. Jerry said, with free agents starting Monday, which players are you looking at for the Saints to sign? I saw we signed a new fullback. Yeah, the fullback that we signed, I can't even pronounce the kid's name, but I know his name is Xander. His first name is Xander. And what I like about it, okay, our running back coach was the running back coach for the San Diego Chargers. I saw his tape, and shout out to Big Q. Big Q broke it down. Shout out to Big Q in the Sports Karma. He was able to go get clips of the young man. The young man is a stud, and he can catch out of the backfield. He's not just a fullback. He has athletic ability to run the ball through the tackles. He can run the ball through the tackles. He can also catch the ball. He is a stud at 6'3", 56 pounds. He's a monster, okay? He's a stud. We could pretty much use him similar to what you see the 49ers doing with Unicheck. I can't pronounce the guy. I think his name Unicheck, whatever his name. But yeah, I like him. The next comment, you said, and I have been saying for the last 2 years. Dennis is not a good head coach is not a good head coach. As a defensive coordinator, yes. Yes. And if you was going to go with Dennis Allen as your head coach, you got to have a good offensive coordinator. It's not going to work. Let me tell you, you notice when Dennis Allen came back to be the Saints defensive coordinator, he fixed the problem right after Rob Ryan. Dennis Allen, Sean Payton wound up getting back on track to the playoffs. They wound up becoming, when Dennis Allen came to work with just the defense and Sean Payton was that offensive coordinator, that's when the Saints got back to their highest height. So you should have got a guy like Sean Payton from the get-go. If you're going to go with a defensive mind coach, that's like Belichick. Belichick ain't going to win them Super Bowls without a great offensive coordinator and a great quarterback. So that goes hand in hand. You can't ask Dennis Allen to be a head coach without having a decent quarterback and a great offensive-minded coach. And the Saints were backwards. How did we go with Pete Carmichael? I don't know. The evolution in motion. The Saints with motion was the far least team in the NFL when it came down to motioning. We were the worst in the NFL in motioning. So now you got a guy that came under the San Francisco 49ers, under Shanahan, under his father, Gary Kubiak, who's going to bring multiple motions. You're going to see two guys motioning at the same time. That's how effective Kubiak offense is. So it's going to remain to be seen. The worst thing can happen is if the Saints, if they don't win this year, the worst thing can happen is Dennis Allen is fired. And then you can all get what you want. But I'm not rooting for, as a Saints fan, I'm not rooting for Dennis Allen to be fired. I want to win. I don't want to go through another losing season. I want to win. And I'm a New Orleans Saints fan before anything. I don't care about the emotional parts as a fan. I'm going to always root for the Saints to win. And we got to get out of our emotions. And that's what Saints fans do. Now, we're going to go back to shout out to Jerry G. Tyrann Mathieu signed a 2-year deal. It was a pretty good contract. I like what they did by putting Tyrann in 2 years. Tyrann actually played pretty well with the Saints. He gotten better at the latter point at the end of the season. He really gotten better as a safety. I think they can pair him up. Howden played pretty well. I don't see the Saints making a splash. They got several safeties that had gotten cut. Abram played good at the end of the season. I'll be very curious as what the Saints are going to do in free agency. I look for the Saints to make one or two, three, or maybe three players moderate free agents. I don't see them making a big splash in free agency. Probably 3 or 4 players that's reasonable price that the Saints are going to go after, okay? But as far as Tyrann Mathieu, I thought, and this is another thing, Saints players said that nobody wants to play for Dennis Allen. I guess that shot down the narratives that nobody wants to play for Dennis Allen because Tyrann Mathieu do. So Tyrann Mathieu signed the deal. He's back. Okay, so Marcus May will be released. Okay, and once again, Jeff Duncan reports was false. Jeff Duncan's reports he cannot be. Michael Thomas will not be released from the Saints. He did not sign a contract. He's not a new contract. His contract is not renewed, so he can't be released. He's just not going to be. He's not going to be re-signed back. So that was false reporting by Jeff Duncan to say that he's going to be cut. Michael Thomas is not going to be cut. He's going to be released. Okay, that's a big difference. He's not going to be released. He's just not going to be re-signed. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. And that's the same thing with Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston will not be re-signed. He's not going to be cut. Okay, now who's going to be cut and released is Marcus May. Marcus May will be cut and released because he's still under contract. Okay, Jeff Duncan thinks he knows everything, and he don't. That's the problem, and that's the reason why he gets far into his ass, and that's why he's getting criticized. I just don't want Michael Thomas to lose his legacy for some shit ass reporter. I don't want Michael Thomas to lose all of his legacy for some no-name reporter who's been reporting with the New Orleans Saints for over 30-something years. That's my problem with Mike. Mike don't have to go back and forth with guys that's not relevant to Michael Thomas. Okay, so that's my whole problem with Mike. Okay, you calling a reporter a hoe that's just not classy. Okay, Mike, you're trying to get a contract with other teams, so you don't want to be known as a cancer in a locker room, which we know you have never been. But you know how narrative goes, okay? You know how things go, okay? But like I said, remember to hit the like button, you guys. Subscribe to the Baddest Sports Show podcast. I want to shout out everybody on Twitter. We hit 1K or over 1K on Twitter. I'm on TikTok. I'm sorry. Over 1K on TikTok. So I want to thank everybody for supporting us on TikTok. We're growing. So remember to share this video. Also hit the like button so we can grow here on YouTube. Remember, all Saints content, all Pelicans content should be supported. All Saints and Pelicans content, because we all are Flock Nation. We all are the Who Dat Nation. So you guys have a blessed day. Thank you, Jerry G. I'm gonna remember. I got to remember to make you a mod, my brother. So I want to let you know when I get back into StreamYard, I got to make you a mod. But thank you once again for the support of all the things that you guys are doing here.